welcome to Every Day is Draft Day, episode I Have No Idea. I'm your host, Dan Turner. Joining me, as always, Steffi Smalls. What is up, Steph?
Hello. I also think we might only be on YouTube right now. I don't know what's going on Twitter. So if you guys are seeing this a little bit later, that's fine. It says the broadcast is not available, but it doesn't matter because the show is going to go on. Because I'm ready for a couple of rants. Last week we were down the dumps. This is going to be a classic Dan and Steph show. It's going to be great.
Classic. That's what people want. That's what people are going to get. So, starting off, fantasy playoffs are here. Fantasy regular season is over with. Thank God. So, what was some takes that you had for some takeaways for this year in fantasy?
I think one thing that we have to comment on though is we should all right now. It's very therapeutic to just realize that you will probably lose in the playoffs due to all this COVID stuff. Like that will probably happen. It's heading in that direction. The list keeps getting longer. It seems like it's like a group of this team, that team. So some teams are maybe doing a better job controlling it than others are. I thought it's not funny, but Higbee had it a false positive. So how many people lost even their chance to go to the playoffs off of that? But just be prepared even, to lose moving forward because you can't control if Cooper Kupp ends up getting it, and then you lose in the next round. Sorry.
Don't say that.
I'm sorry.
Why would you even put that out there?
Because OBJ has it. Because he thought that COVID and him had mutual respect.
Just as long as Matthew Stafford doesn't have it, that's all that matters.
God. See, but here's the thing. So I have a question for you. Even though you asked me a question, and this is how it goes, where I'm like, no, I don't want to answer your question. I'm going to ask my own question. So are you going to lean towards playing like Saturday players over Sunday players in case, God forbid, something happens?
Who plays on Saturday?
The big games. Chiefs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'd rather, with the way it's going, especially like the high profile, like the high like fantasy scoring teams, I'm definitely not going to risk it for Sunday. If I have the players available that play a Saturday, I'm putting them in the majority of my lineups and worrying about it later because I'd rather maybe get a little less points from someone than risking getting no points from a guy that can't play Sunday for whatever reason. So I'm definitely going to prioritize the Saturday games if I have them on my rosters over Sunday.
Yeah, I think that has to happen too. And it stinks because it may not be the option that you want, but you'll be so much more upset if you end up having one of those guys that you hung on to for a Monday or Sunday and they end up not being able to play because of COVID. And all these protocols don't really seem like they have any actual, they're kind of just all over the place. So I don't even know who's considered close contact, who's not considered close contact.
Yeah.
But from the year as a whole, I think that 0 RB people are happy, right? I think I'm very happy.
I mean, I'm happy, but I don't want it to turn into like, oh, well, everyone was hurt, so of course the zero running back guys are right because that's not. You can't be a zero running back guy and say like, oh, I knew that such and such was going to get hurt because then you just sound like a moron and it hurts like the zero running back.
Right. Well, there's a fine line between, oh, I do zero running back or I victory lap every injury ever in the history of the league. Like there's a totally different fine line right there between the two. I think that there is something to handcuffing players. I think we're going to see a lot of it, whereas some of these guys that were handcuffed slipped a lot lower. Now you have a year that RBs obviously were very plagued in the league. So we might see things shift a little bit as far as ADP goes next year. But then again, like, the year before, it was the tight ends that were a problem, right? So every year we kind of have this issue. And I think the point is that 0 RB it's outside of injuries.
Right. I think one thing that came from this year, I thought was interesting how you mentioned handcuffing and how people usually handcuff running backs. Now people are starting to handcuff like QBs and receivers too. Like you handcuff like someone like Van Jefferson. Who turned out he was doing okay, but now with Robert Woods being out, even with Odell there, he had a big game last night. So you have guys like that where you wouldn't normally, put them in on your rosters, but now because players are either getting hurt or aren't available, or even someone like Tyson Hill, who wasn't starting, but he was getting a couple of points a game, and the state of how some of the positions are, like you had to do that this year. So I think it was really interesting that you always hear people talk about handcuffing running backs, with like say like Dalvin Cook and Madison and such. But this year you saw a lot more handcuffing of other positions as well.
Yeah, and you have to, especially all the positions, wide receiver too, tight end. This is like the way. I think it's shifting a little bit, whereas in the past, even myself, I don't know that I ever really handcuffed the way I did moving into this year. The way, even I started to panic. Saquon week 2, I'm picking up Booker because I'm nervous. If he were to go down and someone else picks him up, what are you doing? How are you filling that spot? And this is a random, me going off the rails a little bit here is someone that I want to give a shout out to this year is Kirk Cousins a little bit, because Kirk Cousins is the prime example of, everyone says he's good for regular football. The dude is QB8, okay? Right now, he is QB8 as it stands. And he has fought through bad OC, bad coaching. And there's no way people had Kirk Cousins up that high. He's putting up career stats, so it just shows how unpredictable this entire game is.
Absolutely. No, 100%. I think that someone like that is exactly what you're talking about. It's a guy that, not a lot of people talk about, but that kind of steady production that you really haven't gotten a lot this year from anybody, really. I mean, you had people that you were healthy. Like even this past week, you had someone like Terry McLaurin, who was a wide receiver 1 in a lot of people's eyes, like going into the season, and he played and he got no points at all. So I mean, you're just looking for anyone that can give you that can, like, this year was literally like the floor year. Like the guys that can give you that floor, like those are the people that you have, going to the playoffs, unless you have someone like Jonathan Taylor or Cooper Kupp who score like 1 million points a game, and then you probably win the playoffs too.
Right. And Kirk also, he presents the argument for, here I am interrupting you, but that's nothing new, so it's whatever. Kirk also presents, this argument for stacking players. This is something that I wasn't that into, going into this season, but he's got Justin Jefferson right now sitting at wide receiver 2. Before Thielen got hurt, okay, he was wide receiver 7. He's still wide receiver 18 despite that injury. Like, talk about stacking. And some of these guys, they're just, if they're a competent offense that moves quickly, that puts up a lot of points, that's a little bit consistent, that's where you see the value too. And I think that's something that, at least for me, I learned is stacking is sometimes worth it. It just depends on the quarterback.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, Abe. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, but
Abe was one of the winners of the giveaway. He found me at the Detroit game. So
shout out to you, Abe. Awesome. You got to meet Steph in person. I feel so bad for you. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was on my best behavior.
I'm sure you were. But yeah, it's very interesting that you say that with stacking QBs, because you had someone like a couple of years ago with Bridgewater in Carolina where he had all those receivers were really good, but he wasn't as good as you thought he'd be with the kind of numbers that the receivers were putting up. So it really just depends on what kind of quarterback, like you said, like you can find. But someone like that is a perfect reason to look at stacking and not maybe having it as a viable strategy, as opposed to maybe not liking to do it as much.
Whereas then we could bring Dak into the conversation, and then we're all like, now what? Because he's been disappointing people a little bit, but still, I think there's definitely something for stacking. But then it's like stacking on top of the handcuff, right? Like there's this argument for having Dak, having CD or Amari, but also having Gallup. Like, so that's where you can maybe be strategic in your drafting if you're going to do that stacking method.
Yeah, you just have to, it just takes, like everything else, it's a viable strategy. You just got to make sure that if you plan on utilizing it, to just do it, correctly, like any other strategy. But it's definitely something else you can put in the toolbox going forward. Joey Wright with the question, how are you guys feeling about Waddle the rest of season? I love him.
We love him here.
We love him. We
are lovers.
This is a Waddle. It's definitely a Waddle program.
We need shirts to say, we love Waddle. You know what I love more too, and we're seeing across the league with Burrow and Chase, with Hurts and Smith, is there is something to be said about chemistry And obviously, they're proving us all correct. Tua is finally on this up mend. I'm still expecting him to somehow mess up because I'm not quite there. I need him to finish the season strong, and I'll be sold. I'm not fully there. I'm waiting for Tua to be Tua a little bit. But Waddle, the rest of the season, regardless, even when Tua's not playing the greatest, it doesn't matter because his eyes are always on Waddle downfield.
Absolutely. And just take a look at Waddle's schedule the rest of the year. He has the Jets coming up. So it's the Jets. New Orleans, which is 30th against receivers, then Tennessee, which is 32nd against receivers. So, I mean, that's really like the best possible postseason.
Very favorable
matchup you can ask for. So, yeah, definitely really high on Waddle. He's definitely established himself as the premier receiver in that offense. And with Tua improving, since the beginning of the season, definitely ride him the rest of the year. Don't even think about sitting him for any reason.
Mm-hmm. And they're both kind of getting a little bit more comfortable too, right? And they don't have the best O-line. Like Waddle is someone that I went after a lot, especially in best ball, maybe a little bit more than I did in my drafts. But like he's someone I would be targeting for sure next year because I'm sure they will address the line. It should improve because I think that is hindering a little bit of what their ceiling could be.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, Abe coming back in with another question. How many QBs are you willing to roster for the playoffs with all the COVID cases coming out recently? In a 12 team, probably 2. I'd say 2.
I'm screwed in a couple. I got into a couple because I did this 0 QB thing in a bunch of leagues, and like in 2 of them, people picked up on it. They probably look at my tweets and stuff, and they're like, "No, screw you, Steph." So then they went and picked up all the backups. So I just put in, and someone's gonna hear it now, bit me. But I put the rest of my money, so you guys are not gonna be able to get him. But even like Huntley, like I just put in a crap load of money for him. I'm okay with. I think 2 is solid at this point. Because it's possible to win without QBs. As much as everyone tells you it's not, it very much is. Because I promise you, all of my leagues I went 0 QB are going to the playoffs.
Well, isn't that a humble brag if I ever saw one?
Well, whatever. It doesn't mean I'm not going to the playoffs in a lot of leagues.
But you didn't mention those, did you?
I mean, for various reasons, because I trusted guys I shouldn't have trusted. And then the injuries also sucked.
It is. It's the trust issues. It gets all of us.
Right.
It also depends, Abe, how many QBs are like on the waiver wire that are worth it. I'm assuming that like a lot of teams have like 1 or 2 QBs to start with. So it really all depends on who's left available. If you have someone like a Daniel Jones or a Tyson Hill, and obviously like pick him up, just in case. If there's like a Zach Wilson, maybe a Davis Mills, another option. Those guys. If you have the space for them, sure. Grab them just in case. Rather have them and not eat them than don't have them and get that 0. So that's what I would suggest.
I think it kind of depends too on what's available, right? If there's better RB options than the backup QBs, at some point it might be better to just like not.
If you have the 5th string running back from the Jaguars available, probably pick him up because he might be starting.
I don't even know how all of us got through the freaking season with all these injuries.
Austin Eckler, and even he's hurt now. That's how.
Well, we started the season off ETN, Dobbins, this, that. Like, it's so ridiculous.
In my home league, I drafted ETN, 7th round? 2 days after he got hurt. I'm like, this is going to be one of those years. And it was more than that. It was worse than one of those years. But yeah. Thanks again for the question, Abe. All right, switching gears a little bit. Before we switch gears to the boosted players, we're going to do a little contest. This week's contest for Everyday Draft Day. So the rules are you have to create and fill a private boost ball league. DM us with confirmation of the creation of the league for your chance to win a mystery box with goodies from some of the best running backs in the NFL. So you have to DM us the phrase Saturday is the new Sunday for your chance to win a Raiders or Browns mystery box. So you have 2 chances to win. So you create and fill a private boost ball league. DM us for confirmation to enter, and then DM us the phrase Saturday is the new Sunday for a chance to win Raiders or Browns mystery box full of wonderful goodies.
Okay, so there we go. That was well done.
Thank you very much.
I wish that we thought of something a little bit more creative to get you to say, but I will allow it.
I was with some of the other phrases you've asked me to say this past year, this was very tame.
What was my favorite? What? Oh my gosh, I have to think of it. Actually, I think to round the year out, I am going to have to clip up you and all your little phrases.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Please don't. If you care about me as a human at all, you won't do that. All right, so we're going to do some boost ball players now. We're going to over some of the most boosted players in our boost ball game on the Champions Run app. You should check that out if you haven't. We have a couple of wonderful games still going on. If you missed the playoffs in your other leagues, you can check us out and continue playing until the season's over.
That's so fun too. Like you're out, that's okay.
It's so much
fun.
It's
fine. Head on over. You can still play.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on over. There's plenty of room on board.
Red Rover. Come on. What's that?
I don't know. I never played that game.
Whatever.
All right. So
Dan didn't have a childhood, so I'm not sure.
I went to Catholic school. I really didn't. I didn't play anything like that. I missed out on so much. It was sad.
Okay. Moving
on. All right. What is your first most boosted player you want to talk about?
Oh, so I think I followed the rules a little bit wrong, but first one I do want to talk about, it was boosted a lot, and it was Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
He was way up there. Again, I went on my Kirk Cousins spiel. I went on my Justin Jefferson spiel. Kirk is literally having a career high year statistically, and I don't think anyone really expected that. And you can see Jefferson directly, benefiting from that. And you can see their chemistry almost getting there too. But Justin Jefferson had some high weeks, especially towards the end of this year here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was the 11th most boosted player with 59 instances of being boosted. So that's pretty good. Pretty good for him.
Sounds like he needs to be boosted a little bit more.
Looking through the list, honestly, I was surprised by.
I was too. So I have a couple where I was surprised by who wasn't boosted.
Right. All right. So let me do one of mine. I'm going to talk about. Who am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about Alexander Madison, which is actually one of the surprising ones.
We also are a pro Vikings show as of right now.
Okay. I guess we're making decisions like that now. All right. Because we're pro Vikings.
We spent at least 3% of the show talking about the Vikings.
We did. So by the rules, we must be favorites now. So obviously, he was the 26th most boosted player with 16 boosts. And obviously, those were the weeks that Dalvin Cook wasn't playing. He had some solid weeks, but overall, he kind of underperformed based on what was expected of him in that offense. So I think the people that did boost him probably wish they didn't. Yeah. Honestly.
I have another bone to pick too.
Go ahead, pick your bones.
Okay, I'm ready. Who didn't get boosted enough at all, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's that everyone was expecting him to every week to not do what he's done the entire season. Cordero Patterson. Why was he only boosted 16 times?
I don't know.
I need to know. I need to know what you need from him.
That's the one that surprised me because he got boosted just as much as Alexander Madison did, and he was killing it all year.
All year, consistently. Even with that 1 week that we saw Ridley not even fly out, to England, he's still not even boosted. I don't know if it's more because I think Pitts, you'll have to grab the number for me. I don't have him in front of me. Maybe people are just scared about the Falcons in general is kind of the idea I got there. But I think, Cordero had such a great season. He's one of the surprises from the season. No one expected him to do this great. I just expected a couple more boosts for him.
Kyle Pitts got boosted once.
Wow. And you know who boosted him? This guy. And guess what? He had a bad week, so it's fine.
There you go. Yep. Once. Yeah. All right. Another one for me, which is another shock. Overall, actually, is Leonard Fournette. I don't think anyone's talked about Fournette as much as he deserved at all in any kind of format this season. We're talking about, and even us, we talked about injuries a lot for running backs this year, and we barely even mentioned Lenny. He was the 32nd ranked boosted player with only boosted 12 times, so even boosted less than Madison was, and he's been pretty much starting all year for the best offense arguably in the league. So that was kind of shocking to me overall. He had 778 yards, 8 touchdowns, 62 receptions, 421 yards, 2 TDs. I mean, those are quality numbers. And the fact that he only got boosted 12 times was kind of crazy to me, honestly.
Definitely. And he's similar to the guy that I'm going to say after this, but Leonard Fournette, people go to Tampa and then they learn how to like behave right, because short story, and then I'll stop, but I have to tell the story now, is the reason why I ended up like getting so deep into the football industry was a tweet about Fournette. That's kind of what boosted my entire career here, pushing it in that direction. And it was when I was just on Giants Twitter and there was rumors that Leonard Fournette wanted to come to the Giants, and I was like, stop wishing that upon us. Like, we want someone that shuts their mouth and plays ball. And now looking back, it's funny because I literally wish that Leonard Fournette was on the New York Giants. He's someone that I did draft really heavily, and I agree. I mean, the guy is absolutely balled out. He has been a force to reckon with, and you can't stop him. He's a beast.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. He was basically like he was done in Jacksonville, and kind of like a throwaway, and people were just like, okay, and everyone expected Ronald Jones to come and take that job, and just never materialized. And he had that that amazing playoff run when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Tampa is making me a believer in Leonard Fournette and Antonio Brown again, and I never thought that would happen because there was 2 players I always had an issue with how they were off the field more than on the field. But similar to Leonard Fournette, another league winner at this point, probably not winner in case he's hurt, but if you guys haven't caught on, I love James Conner. James Conner was only boosted 5 times. I don't know what everyone needed out of him towards the end there after Evans got hurt, when he really started seeing double the volume, what they needed, because James Conner has dominated beyond everyone's expectations. So James Conner at 5 boosts, yikes.
Yeah, I just feel like in general James Conner was just underappreciated this year. So like kind of in the same vein as Fournette, actually. You had with Edmonds there, he was a decent back, and with Edmonds being gone, he's really taken over that role and running with it. No pun intended. But these guys that not a lot of people are talking about, and like we're guilty of that too. Especially with all the injuries and stuff, and they just come in and every week and produce. I think Connor's on like 7 straight weeks with a touchdown at this point, and that's crazy. That's unheard of for anyone, really. So it's definitely someone that should have been boosted a lot more.
What was he at 14 even going into last night? I mean, he's been doing fantastic. He's slow. He's, in quotations, injury prone. I think the Steelers didn't use him properly. I think he needed a new environment. Obviously, he's maybe injured right now, but even through week 8, right? Edmonds got hurt week 9, and we'll just do week 8. That's fine. I mean, there was only like a 5.2 point discrepancy between the 2 of them. So James Conner was going to be involved. He was producing. And I think that's why he can get that red zone work. And he's even showing off his receiver skills. Yes, he's slow as hell. We know he's not the quickest guy, but he's very talented back. Same with Leonard Fournette.
I think that touches on something that we've seen a lot more of, is that, people, and that includes like me sometimes, overrate speed. I think people think people are slow. They always look at 40 times and stuff and don't realize they can be a really good technical player. And it maybe isn't the fastest, like James Conner. Like James Conner is not going to be, Tyreek Hill's speed. He's never going to be that. Right. But he does all the little things. He does great in pass pro. He runs in between tackles. He's great at catching. He runs good routes. It's stuff like that. Like little things that'll get you on the field and give you the chance to get those points. Right. And that's something that we need to remember. It isn't just about speed. Obviously, speed helps.
Versatility. That's the word of the night. Right. Because he's able to line up. You saw him line up as a wide receiver how many times last night?
Yeah, on the outside.
They're able to use him across the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can line up on any receiver spot, either slot or outside. They line up a couple of times outside.
Oh, with that one-hand catch. That was
crazy.
Sweet.
Yeah. That was awesome. Yeah.
That's what Ingram wishes he was. Ingram wishes that he was James Conner.
He does. I think everyone wishes that Ingram was James Conner. Honestly, especially Giants fans. So a couple more to talk about. Tyson Hill, someone I boosted 20. He was 25th most boosted 21 times, which was a ton, I think, for him. I think people are expecting, some like Konami type numbers. And he had a couple games like that, but he only really had like one or two really big games total. So I think that he was a little over boosted based on his name and what they expected over what they got.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was all from last week.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. That's what I expected. A lot of it was from last week when he had that game. Is there any more that you want to talk about?
We do Jalen Hurts, 57
Do it.
times. I think that's a great call, right? Jalen Hurts, I wasn't as high on as everyone else. I still didn't have him ranked totally inappropriate. Just thought that maybe it would be the Eagles impacting him more than anything. But Jalen Hurts has proved me absolutely wrong, and he deserved to be boosted even more than that.
Agreed. I think that even myself as an Eagles fan, like it was interesting. I didn't expect. I didn't expect. Like I was waiting and seeing what kind of year he was going to have with the new offensive system and new coaching staff, and being the guy. And while he hasn't done as well as I would have liked, probably like in real football and fantasy, he's absolutely killed it. He's top 10 QB for the year. He's going to be coming back this week from the injury, so hopefully we see more of that in the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah.
And the last one I want to talk about is the number one guy, Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp has been boosted 197 times. He's had 113 catches for 1,489 yards and 12 touchdowns, which is a good season. And we haven't even started the fantasy playoffs yet. This guy has scored less than 22 points 3 times this year. Every other time has scored at least 22. He has a 40-point game, a couple 30 points. It's just it is my biggest probably miss, the fact that I hyped up. I thought this was going to be Bobby Tree's kind of year. And obviously he just took that and burned it and then threw it away. That's what Cooper Kupp did to that take. He absolutely annihilated it. So no one, saw it coming. And I was going through some of my previous drafts. People were getting him in like the 4th, 5th, 6th round. And he's going to be a league winner. Like basically, if you have him, you're in the playoffs. Like there's no other way.
Right.
So it's insane to me, just looking through the kind of like you see like, he's leading the league in all these categories, but then like going game by game and just seeing the amount of points he's putting up, it's just ridiculous.
Right. And ironically, I'll do my hot take here of who I think is going to follow actually that path and was only boosted twice is Hunter Renfrow. Moving forward.
This is a Hunter Renfrow show.
What?
This is a Hunter Renfrow show.
It's a Hunter Renfrow show. I think Hunter Renfrow is on that path. He is someone that flew very under the radar. I mean, he hasn't had his yardage is absurd. And the best part about him, he's not touchdown dependent. I mean, he's sitting so freaking pretty at wide receiver 12, and that's just through right now. And he doesn't need the touchdowns because he gets the volume. He has a connection. He's such a good route runner. I love Hunter Renfrow, and I wish I had more of him. Yeah,
Hunter Renfrow is literally responsible for me being in the playoffs in like half my leagues.
Yeah.
He only, like you said, he's not touchdown dependent. He only has 5 touchdowns on the year. He has no games with multiple touchdowns, but he's getting he's getting the catches and he's getting the yards. He's had 21 plus point games the past 3 games against.
He hasn't scored a touchdown since week 10.
Yeah.
Right? Well, he had one last week, but prior to that.
Oh, yeah. Prior to that, it was week 10 against Kansas City. Yeah. Yeah, he's had games, he's gone like 2 games, 3 games with no touchdowns. And yet he's still putting up, these kind of games. And, to have that kind of production and with Waller being injured and Ruggs no longer being there, like he's pretty much being the guy now, pass catching wise in that offense. And the route he had last week was fantastic, where he just completely destroyed that guy on that inside out route. It was funny enough that it's the same route he won the national title with. So, but yeah,
it's funny because I feel like he's one of those guys, and I love this when they're very humble off the field and on the field. Like, you get emotion out of him, but not really. Like, he's just like on the field, like, I'm Hunter Renfrow. I'm gonna just go out there and get 160 something yards. I'm not even gonna get a touchdown, but I'm gonna finish wide receiver 1 on the week. Like, he's just that guy. It just doesn't matter. He's fine. Yeah.
I'm gonna break your ankles and just be like, oh, thanks, have a nice day.
Yeah, he just puts the ball down and walks away. Like, it doesn't even matter to him. It's awesome.
I love him so much. But But that'll do it. On that note, that'll do it for this edition of Every Day is Draft Day. I hope you all had a wonderful time. Thank you for people that commented for their questions. Steph, you want to tell everyone what's going on in Steph land?
Yes, in Steph land, I'm doing Every Day is all my stuff is at Champions Round. Eagle Day and FF will actually be on our start set Q&A that we do on Thursdays because Jason won't be able to make it. Everything comes out in Champions Round.
Drinking contest.
I know. We're going to be doing a claw chugging contest. I'm going to whip his ASS. There you go. I didn't even say it well. You don't have to bleep me out. But you can find me on Twitter at Steffi Smalls with 3 L's. And check us out on TikTok because there's really fun stuff going out right now.
Yes. You can find me on Twitter at EagleDanFF. I actually have some TikTok videos up now, so that's fun. You can find my articles, which one will be coming out tomorrow, the waiver article. Then we have the week preview, and Wednesday, which will be my new segment, which is give the people what they want. Basically, I go on Twitter, ask people what they want me to write about, and they write about it. So
I can submit I'm going to make a burner just so I can submit what I want.
You do that. You make a burner just to submit something. Awesome. And also be sure to check out, Steph actually did Smalls Talks Balls yesterday with Jeff, and that was an awesome show, so check that out.
Thanks.
All right. That'll be it. Everyone, have a wonderful week.
Good luck, everyone.
Good luck in the playoffs, unless I'm facing you, in which case I hope you fail miserably.
See ya.
See ya. Have a good week.